Professor Brunk, our Viadrina students love IBA, International Business Administration, Master Track, Marketing and Management. And what do you think, what makes this Master Track at the university such special?
What makes it different, maybe in comparison to other universities? Well, one of the things I believe is that we're really truly international, and we try to give a very global perspective when we teach marketing. So we use cases and examples from all over the world, expose our students to different cultural contexts. And I think that's very important because globalization is moving forward, of course, and supply chains of products are becoming ever more complex, involving ever more countries. And also with our purchase decision, we have an impact on other areas in the world. So that would be one factor. The other factor that contributes to this being international would be that we teach in English. So it's not all universities in Germany teach in English. And that's of course great for our international students. And by having a lot of international students, also the German students get more exposed to international topics in a multicultural environment, which is important, as I said earlier. Now, not all German students, of course, like the fact that we're teaching in English because, yes, it pushes some of them out of their comfort zone. But the fact is that in startup businesses and in larger companies, the business language in marketing departments is English. So in the long run, it might be a little hard in the beginning here to actually study these topics in English, but you learn the terminology early on, and once you get used to it, then hopefully you have smooth sailing once you enter the business world. And also from our side, we are very international here and we work very internationally. So we have several nationalities in the team, in the marketing department, and also Professor Eisend, who's the other marketing chair, and we both cooperate with a lot of researchers internationally. Like I, for example, cooperate with researchers from 7 different countries, like Brazil, Tunisia, the US, Canada, the UK, and then of course to this exposure with these other nationalities, these other researchers, then the experiences and the findings from our research then feeds back into our teaching. So I think being international is definitely a very strong point for studying marketing here. And the other point I think is that you really get a plurality of perspectives here. Because as I mentioned, we have 2 different marketing chairs, Professor Eisend and I, and we provide very different perspectives, and we also have very different backgrounds. Like for example, Professor Eisend took kind of the classical academic trajectory, but I have a very different socialization in the system, let's put it this way. I originally learned a profession. I worked in the hotel business for many years. Then I only started studying when I was around 30 years. Then I worked as a marketing research consultant, and only after that I went into academia. So I have the business, the practical perspective as a background. Then Professor Eisend works with other topics, so he's a specialist in advertising research, for example, whereas I work in ethics and also do consumer behavior and consumer culture, topics in consumer culture. So you get exposed to a lot of different topics when you study here. And the third point is we both use very different methods. We both work in very different paradigmatic traditions. So Professor Eisend is a specialist in meta-analysis and quantitative analysis. And I, on the other hand, I use a lot of qualitative research and work more on the interpretive tradition. And that is quite special in Germany because Germany is a country where in marketing you have a very, very strong quantitative tradition. We want to, in Germany, we want to measure everything and quantify everything. We want to have numbers for everything. But that's different in other European countries, in Sweden or in the UK. You know, there's also, you take also qualitative approaches. And so because that's quite rare, the fact that we can expose students to both approaches is, I think, for students a real learning opportunity. So I think these things would make us special.
Oh wow, that sounds really great. Wow, Professor Brunk, but does it make sense to focus on marketing within our IBA master program if so many students are just studying marketing and management?
Yes, well, that's a very rational question. Does it make sense? Of course, when you come from a supply and demand perspective, you could always say, well, so many people study management and marketing. Is there enough demand in the market or whatever? Does it make sense? Or if I study management and marketing like everyone else, do I set myself up for a difficult time when I leave my studies? Well, my advice would be to kind of disregard that a little bit. I would come, my personal advice, not necessarily from a professional point of view, but my personal advice from my experience in life, and I've taken some decisions in my life that were, I would say, suboptimal, but you know, you learn from that, and I would always say, study what you're interested in, what you think you could be passionate about, and try out lots of different things, because this is really what studying is about: trying yourself out, gaining new skills, and and try and find your way. And if you're passionate and good at something, you will find your way. So if you're interested in management and marketing, yes, then that's what you should study. And also marketing skills can always be important, not just, so if you decide you're not going into the business world or you don't want to work in marketing, these skills are still very important. So let's say you apply for a job. Now, marketing skills are very useful then, because you would want to assess, okay, what's the applicant situation, what's the market, will there be 500 applications to one job? Is there not such high demand? If there's high demand, then what can you do? How could I stand out, cut through the clutter, so I get picked for an interview? How would I design my application? How would I present myself? What image do I want to convey? And these are all marketing topics and marketing issues. So if you've learned about this, then you can benefit from that. So to cut a long story short, yes, study marketing and management.
I'm really impressed with your master track with this marketing and management study. And as you said, you're specialized and also very successful in answering a lot of different questions in customer research and business ethics. That's also very unique and compared to Germany, maybe all over the world. So why should all students, of course our future managers, marketing managers and experts, why should they gain and implement that knowledge in their business activities also?
Okay, yes. Well, we live in a consumer society today, meaning that consumption is at the heart of many of our daily activities, of our social life, and of our rituals. So if you think, for example, about Christmas, I always give this example in class as well. If you think about Christmas, if you try and strip Christmas of any of the consumption activities, what's left over? Okay, the Christmas meal, the presents, if you take all of this out, so you realize how much consumption is actually dominating our life. So consumption is a very important economic activity. And the consumer is the target of all the companies and service companies. And when I say the consumer, it doesn't necessarily mean the individual consumer, but they're also business consumers. So the consumer in general, the person who consumes, they are the target of the companies. And if you want to sell to them, you need to know how they think, what influences their decision, what do they value. It's no sense spending millions in developing a wonderfully creative ad and then that advertising doesn't actually resonate with the computer. It's wasted money, and sometimes we see this. There's advertisements that win prizes at Cannes or whatever, but they fail to actually speak to the consumer. And that's of course a problem. So consumer research is essential, but not just from a company perspective, but also from, for example, a public policy perspective. If you as a government want to motivate your people to stop smoking or other things, then knowledge in consumer research can also be important to find out how to best get this achieved. And my other research topic, which is ethics and sustainability, are very important today. I mean, we obviously all agree, and so I started working in this area 15 years ago, and it was not such a hot topic, but now it really is, and I'm quite happy it is. And because when we develop products and sell products, we need to start thinking about we need to think about it in a cradle to grave kind of way. From what impact do we have from the development of that product to the disposal of that product? What positive or negative impact can we have or will we have with this product or service on the environment, on different constituents, on consumer groups, minority consumers, or other vulnerable consumer groups. So this is very important to have this view. So we need to take responsibility as marketers to balance economic interests, meaning the amount we sell, so selling as much as possible, which used to kind of be the focus for many years. And we need to balance that with societal interests, okay? Meaning saving our planet and creating a more inclusive society. And I think this will be the most important challenge ahead for all of us. And therefore, these two topics, which are my core research topics, are very important. And what is my contribution there? What do I try to do? I try to foster, in my teaching, I try to foster a critical mindset of the students. So it doesn't mean when things have always been done a certain way, they will have to be done this way in the future all the time. So be critical about certain things and processes. I also like to give them a sensitivity for ethical issues. You know, what could be ethically problematic in marketing? And there's of course a lot of issues related to pricing, targeting, whatever. So I try to actually develop that sensitivity. And also maybe some of the students will reconsider some of their own consumption choices once we've actually discussed this. So this would be my goal.
Thank you very much for this deep answer. Professor Brunk, you also mentioned you have a lot of international experiences. You've published a lot in a lot of articles in international journals. You've worked in London and Brussels, as I know. So why is the European University Viadrina your place to be?
Yes, that's a good question. Well, I think precisely because I have so much international experience and because I appreciate the international environment so much, this is my place to be, because I feel that this university has a truly international vibe and spirit. And this is influenced by a variety of factors, one being the location, being so close to the border to Poland, the fact that we have so many international students, and the fact that we do so much, all of my colleagues really here, and that's not just marketing and management, but all of my colleagues here do such excellent top-notch international research. And so I feel very at home here. And another maybe more emotional factor is also why I feel so at home here is the fact that I'm originally from East Germany, and so I'm very happy that I can make my contribution here in Frankfurt Oder, and I'm very proud of what this university delivers to students, and we very often score top in terms of student satisfaction, which actually underlines that students like studying here, they like their experience, and this is something to be very happy and proud about, and I'm glad to be part of it.
I agree totally with you. And I have the last question. Could you tell me what's your favorite marketing course and why?
Of course, I have to say that I like all of them because I developed them, so so I would have to enjoy them and be passionate, because how could I otherwise get the students to like them if I don't like them? But the courses are of course quite different. So I teach an introduction to marketing course that is very big, and there it's more about it's quite broad, but stays fairly on the surface. So we cover a lot of concepts. And then you could think, oh, wouldn't that be boring to teach that every year, the basics and so broad. But in marketing is not mathematics. So things really change over time. Now, for example, the onset of all the online world has really changed marketing. The way we market, advertising, so many things have changed, the way products are distributed. So things change from year to year. So every year we can make adjustments and update. The pandemic has had huge impact as well on the way we consume. And so every year we can find new examples, and we update cases and develop further, and I develop further. And also because my research is so specialized, we generally as professors, we then specialize in a specific area, then it's actually really fun to teach these general courses again, because then I'm like, I can teach about distribution and advertising and all these things that during the year I don't have so much exposure to. So I enjoy that very much. And on the other side, then you have the seminars. And the seminars are more intimate and customized, and you can go deeper into certain issues. And right now I'm teaching a seminar on consumer research methods. And there we first teach I would say, the dominant methods that are used in consumer research, qualitative and quantitative. So we have this combination that I mentioned earlier on, which I find extremely valuable. And then the students get to work on a data collection and an own project. And the topic this year is the impact that the pandemic has had and continues to have on our consumer behavior. And within this broader topic, the students then can develop a research question, a small research question, and then we will guide them through the projects. And then it's always very fascinating what we come up with at the end, what comes out, and some people might research about dating apps in times of a pandemic. Other people, so I mean, there's a lot of different topics, and that can also be very fun. So in the end, I cannot really say this is my favorite course, because every course has its its advantages, and I really enjoy and I'm passionate about teaching all of them.
Oh, thank you very much. There was a lot of questions, but thank you. I really admire your job here at the university. And if you would like Viadrina to become your place to be, take a look at our website and apply in time. Bye!